All right, let's dive into something really relatable, something maybe overlooked. Think about starting your day. Mirror. Shaving. Simple stuff for lots of people, yeah, it's
Right.
just routine. But, for some folks, it's this daily, well, honestly, painful battle. Irritating. Razor bumps, skin issues, just
Mhm.
not great. And for Tristan Walker, this whole common, frustrating ritual, it wasn't just annoying. It actually sparked this huge idea. He looked around and realized this massive, multi-billion-dollar grooming industry. It just wasn't built thinking about men like him.
That's such a key point. It really is.
Yeah.
How something so personal, this like daily frustration, can suddenly shine a light on a massive gap in the market, a systemic thing. It wasn't just, oh, there's no product for me. It was realizing an entire industry didn't really get a huge group of its potential customers.
Exactly. Which brings us perfectly to our deep dive today. It's the story of Tristan Walker, the guy who founded Bevel, went up against this, massive established industry, and eventually sold his company to Procter Gamble. And this story, it's not just about business success for you listening. It's really powerful proof of how knowing a problem inside out, how that can lead to billion-dollar brands. And maybe even more important, how it can shift culture and inspire tons of entrepreneurs of color. So think of this as your shortcut to understanding that whole journey.
Yeah, it's such a perfect example. When you understand a problem because you've lived it, that experience, that's your biggest asset in business and innovation anywhere.
Okay, so let's rewind a bit. Go back to the beginning, see how that perspective got shaped. Tristan Walker, born 1984, Queens, New York. Early life. Definitely challenging. His dad died when he was only 3, so his mom raised him and his brother, mostly on her own. They lived in the South Jamaica housing projects. Now, that neighborhood, yeah, it had a reputation for high crime, but it was also, a really tight-knit community.
And that background is so important because it really underlines the role education played for him. It was, like you said, his ticket out.
Yeah.
He got into this nonprofit program and it allowed him to go to Hotchkiss, this really prestigious boarding school in Connecticut. Worlds away from Queens, you can imagine. Different perspectives, strong academics. And from there, he went to Stony Brook University, studied economics.
So education opened doors, but clearly that drive, that ambition, it was still burning after college. It led him straight to Stanford for his MBA, which, yeah, everyone knows that's the absolute heart of Silicon Valley startup culture. But here's the fascinating part, maybe a bit surprising. Even with that Stanford MBA, Tristan faced huge hurdles. No existing network, no tech background to speak of, and definitely no safety net. Zero. So how did he even start? How did he navigate that?
That's where you really see his proactive nature kick in. He didn't just wait around. He literally cold emailed his way into internships, into meetings at huge places, Twitter, Foursquare, and crucially, Andreessen Horowitz, the big VC firm. And that time, those experiences, they were foundational. He learned 2 massive lessons there. First, solve problems you genuinely deeply understand yourself. That authenticity matters. And second, the power, the absolute necessity of representation in leadership, in who's building the products. It's not optional.
And those lessons, wow, they led him right back to where we started. That frustration, the shaving problem, we talk about it generally, but let's get specific for a sec. These traditional multi-blade razors, the ones everywhere, they worked okay, maybe fine for guys with straight hair, but for men with coarse hair or curly hair, those razors, they often cut the hair below the skin. And that's what leads directly to the painful razor bumps, the irritation.
That's the mechanics of it.
So here's the kicker stat. This affects up to 80% of black men. 80%. So why? Why was this huge problem ignored for so long by the big companies? What was going on there?
It really it points directly to a lack of diversity. In the leadership teams, the product development rooms, they just weren't asking the right questions, probably weren't doing the deep dive research in that segment because, well, it wasn't their personal experience. So they missed this huge market because the people building the stuff didn't reflect the people using it or who could be using it. For Walker, though, this wasn't just a gap. It was a massive flashing opportunity.
Okay, so 2013, Tristan decides, right, I'm doing this myself. Founds Walker and Company Brands. And the star product, Bevel. Not just another razor on the shelf, it was a single-blade safety radar system, purpose-built, designed specifically to get rid of those razor bumps. A direct, elegant solution to a very widely felt problem.
And crucially, he didn't just stop at making a better product. He built this incredibly strong brand identity around it. Bevel wasn't just about the function of shaving. It was about dignity, self-care, cultural pride even. Think about the ads. They featured men of color, right? Shot beautifully rich, natural tones, totally different from the usual kind of generic grooming ads you'd see, and the packaging, too. Minimalist, premium, very Instagram ready, as people say now. It all communicated quality, respect, and this deep understanding of who the customer was.
Yeah, that makes sense. But building that kind of specific, culturally focused brand, raising money for it in Silicon Valley, that must have been tough. I mean, a lot of investors, especially back then, probably saw it as, niche.
Right.
Did they get the potential?
Initially, no, not really. That was the big hurdle. Many just didn't see the market size. They framed it as niche.
So how did he break through that? What was his pitch? What numbers did he use to change their minds?
This is where his strategy was just brilliant. He didn't just argue it wasn't niche, he proved it with data. He focused hard on the numbers, showed them that grooming for people of color, far from niche. It was, in fact, an underserved majority in many global markets. He likely laid out the data on disposable income, what people were already spending on, frankly, bad solutions, and the huge potential if someone offered something that actually worked and respected them. He turned that personal frustration into a clear, compelling financial opportunity for investors. And that data, plus his sheer conviction, eventually won over some big names. Andreessen Horowitz came back in, John Legend invested, Magic Johnson too. They helped raise millions, and that really validated his whole approach.
Wow. Okay, so once you got that crucial funding, Bevel started to really scale up, started direct-to-consumer, DTC, right? Selling online, building that direct customer relationship.
Exactly. Smart move to start.
And then they expanded into Target stores, onto Amazon. Really smart distribution, meeting customers where they already shop.
Absolutely. Very intentional. And you see, the brand grew way beyond just the razor. They launched shaving creams, oils, trimmers, eventually a whole hair care line too. That expansion, plus getting endorsements from celebs and athletes, really cemented Bevel's place. But the most powerful thing, you look at the customer reviews back then. People weren't just saying, yeah, the product works great. They were saying things like they felt finally seen, that emotional connection. That's what happens when you truly serve a community that's been overlooked. It's incredibly powerful.
And that kind of impact, that kind of connection, well, it definitely gets noticed by the big players. So 2018, Procter Gamble acquires Walker & Company. The sum wasn't disclosed, but it was clearly significant. This wasn't just cashing out. It felt like this huge validation of everything Walker set out to do.
Totally. A massive validation.
And gave Bevel the resources, the platform, to scale globally, reach even more people who needed what they offered.
Yeah, and what's really key here is that Tristan stayed on as CEO. That was important. It ensured the mission, the core values of the brand he built, stayed intact, even inside this huge corporation. It wasn't just absorbed and lost.
Right, preserved the authenticity.
Exactly. And since the acquisition, Walker's focus has broadened too. He's heavily involved in mentorship. He's a huge advocate for more representation in the tech world and pushing on health equity issues too. You see him on major boards now, Foot Locker, Shake Shack. His influence is wide. He has this great quote, "We're not just building companies, we're building culture."
That just nails it, doesn't it? His whole journey, his legacy. So let's distill this down. What does this all mean for you listening, whether you're an entrepreneur or just someone trying to solve problems? Tristan Walker's story, it's packed with lessons. First one, pretty clear. Solve a problem you know personally that gives you authenticity, insights, stuff outsiders just won't see.
Absolutely. And second, representation. It's not just, a nice to have or a buzzword. It's a core growth strategy. By deliberately building for an overlooked group, Walker didn't just do something good. He tapped into a massive market everyone else was ignoring. Good business.
Right. Third lesson, brand is so much more than a logo or nice packaging. It's about that deep emotional connection. Bevel made people feel seen, feel valued. That loyalty, you can't buy that.
So true. And finally, number 4. Distribution really matters.
Yeah.
How you get your product to people. Starting DTC, then moving into big retail like Target, online with Amazon. They met customers where they were, made it accessible. That fueled the growth.
Yeah. It's clear Tristan Walker sold more than just a razor. He sold a powerful message that people of color deserve products made for them, with them in mind, by companies that actually understand them.
From Queens, all the way to Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
From that daily frustration with shaving to this major acquisition, Walker proved that when you build authentically for your community, the whole world eventually takes notice.
So the question left for you is, what overlooked community or what personal frustration that you experience might hold the key to the next truly groundbreaking innovation?